Hey, great Monday evening. It is an awesome evening in the city of Brownsville and surrounding areas. And I make mention that city of Brownsville and surrounding areas because tonight we have the honor and the pleasure of having Dale House with us tonight. Dale is pastor at Los Fresnos Church of Christ, and I think he used to be or still a firefighter.
No, I'm not anymore. But yes, I was a firefighter. I'm not anymore.
Well, I remember getting stuck in the mud in Los Fresnos one time and didn't have anyone to call, and sure enough, Dale House came and pulled me out of the mud.
Oh, I forgot about that. I
Let me tell
forgot
you,
about that.
one of the things that pastors do is they a lot of times pull a lot of people out of the mud.
Yeah, that's the goal, right? Pull people out of the mud,
It is the goal.
proverbially and literally.
Yeah. I've known Dale for many, many years. I actually worshipped in Los Fresnos Church of Christ when I was staying in Los Fresnos many, many years back. I'm very, very proud to call Dale a friend, and I love Los Fresnos Church of Christ.
Oh, thank you.
This is where you say we love you too, Erasmo.
Oh, we love you too, Erasmo. Sorry, I'm not keen on this. I normally do this by myself. So
Yes, and let's say hi to folks. Hey, good evening, Joe. How's it going, my man? Kanina, good evening. Martha, good to talk to you this day, Martha. God bless you. Good evening, Kat. Good evening, Frank. God bless you. And hello, Ray Royal, Chessmaster Royal. Juan, good evening, Mr. Oswald. Good evening, Juan. God bless you, man. Good to have you all with us tonight. And as I mentioned, Dale is the pastor of Church of Christ, Los Fresnos, Texas, and also has a show every morning between 7 and 8 o'clock, Monday through Friday, called Coffee and the Word.
yep, it's a little short devotional I do every day, and it's just intended to encourage people and get them in the Word. So
Well, I'm glad that you're not competing with me at 9 o'clock in the morning.
I couldn't compete, so I switched.
No, yeah, you could. Trust me. But again, thank you for being on with us tonight, Dale. There's a lot of things that have been going on, in our area, in our country. You might help us out with, anything other besides coffee and the Word and being a pastor there at Church of Christ.
Well, I also I operate as the chaplain for our local police department, and I wear many hats, and but obviously my first love and most important one is my pastorship here. So
Awesome. Again, anyone in Los Fresnos area, please visit Los Fresnos Church of Christ, a great church. One of the things that we recently experienced as a nation, as a country, was the presidential election last week. We're not going to talk about any other local elections because we don't want this to be a sad show. But we will talk about the presidential election. And there's been a lot of hoopla in regards to whether President Trump actually, will still be the president or won't be the president based on the legal ramifications, legal aspects of sending a lot of these individuals to court. As I know that you had some shows on politics, and you have made some posts in regards to voting Democrat, voting Republican. What's your take on Joe Biden being the president-elect, 46th president of the United States?
as I said in my, I think it was my first video on the week of my God in politics, that as faithful believers in a God who is in charge, we don't have to be afraid if things don't go the way we want it to, or it doesn't happen the way we think it should. And I don't get real public about my personal politics because what I do is not really important to anybody else. I do think we ought to approach politics through our faith, and I know I've heard a lot of rhetoric about separation of church and state, and I'm a big believer that the state should not engage itself in our churches, but I do believe we as members of church and citizens of this country should involve ourselves in the politics of this nation. So um, I think it's important. I will pray for, support, call him my president, whoever it may be, in January on January 20th.
Well, yeah, it's very. Let me see.
Is that accurate?
I'm trying to find it out. Not. No, I'm not finding anything to verify that. So I'm going to say that's not completely accurate. You know,
can I speak to that real quick though, because
sure.
I do think that one of the things that we should all be about is we should all be about truth, whatever that truth is. You know, I tell my young adults, I tell my youth group, I tell my kids, I tell my adults that truth has nothing to fear. We don't have to be afraid of truth, whatever that truth is. And I think sometimes we act as though truth may change things the way we want them, but really truth should be our ultimate objective, is to discover what truth is. And when we have such a divided country as we do now, it's imperative that we take the time to make sure that truth is discovered, whatever that is. And I'm perfectly okay with whatever that truth is. So.
I agree 100%. One of the things that I'm asked constantly in regards to, are you a Republican, are you a Democrat? I say, you know what? I believe in the Constitution. I consider myself more of a constitutionalist than anything else. I like a lot of the freedoms and a lot of the liberties that are granted to our people because of the Constitution. I'm glad to live in the United States of America, and as much as I love Mexico and as much as I love other countries, I love this state. I love this country, and I don't think that I would want to live anywhere else. So we'll see.
Same. I've never lived anywhere else, so I have no idea.
Hello, my handsome brother. That I think that's mine. That should be mine. Well said, Mr. Charles. Well, one of the things that happened in Harlingen, Texas, they were having and I'm glad you're here with us tonight. They were having a prayer rally out there. A lot of the Trump supporters, and I actually shared the post that was shared on social media. I shared the post, and we're getting a lot of comments. Well, separation of church and state, blah 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 blah. But again, we're free to express our freedom of religion and freedom of choice. And the event that these evangelicals in Harlingen were having was just a prayer meet, a legal prayer meet, and they encountered some protesters who got a little bit violent. Have you seen the video?
I didn't see the video. I saw the police report or the press statement. I did not see the video, but from the press statement, it seems like there was some, where some people took offense to people praying out there for. I guess they were praying. I don't know what they were praying for. So Trump.
Let's watch it real quick, and then we'll talk about it.
Let's watch it.
Hope would be going for him, but it's not. So we have to stand on the word of God, people of God. All of us do. So I know people are down and out because I know according to the reports that the media have declared that Biden is going to be the new president. So listen, we're going to put everything in God's hands. Amen.
Hey, this is peaceful, babe. Get away.
This is when they're throwing eggs.
We forgive you guys. Jesus loves you. Yes, you guys too. Jesus loves you. Look at that.
It's okay.
You see, guys, but you know what? And the word of God says, if they persecuted Jesus, they will persecute us too. You guys, please stop throwing eggs.
There's kids over here.
Guys, there's kids over here.
That's enough.
Over here. Guys, there's kids over here. Please stop throwing eggs. Stop acting like little children, please. Please.
There's kids here. Enough.
We're not disturbing you. We're here. On it, just please leave us alone. Just leave us alone.
And
what is going on?
That's where they were throwing the eggs, and then this guy wants to get on the stage.
Just let. No. Oh my God.
John Jordan Rivas gets kicked off the stage and he pulls out a knife.
That's enough, everyone.
Stop it. Don't do it. Do not do it. Stop it. In the name of Jesus, I rebuke you. In the name of Jesus. Get out of here, Satan. Get out of here, Satan. I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. I rebuke you guys in the name of Jesus.
And that's what happened. So what's your take on it?
Well, there's a lot of takes on it. Man, I guess I should have watched that beforehand, so I'd have a better way to approach this. I do think that we have to be aware that we live in a very volatile time, and I kind of hold to the position that I am trying desperately to bring people to know the King of Kings instead of the President of the United States. And my focus is on that. My focus is on helping people see him. We do have to realize that our God is both a God of love and of justice. So we can't miss that. And I don't think we should miss that. In situations like that, like I said, I think I saw that all three of those people who were there were all arrested. They will be charged. It looks like. I think that's the best way to handle this is let the authorities do what the authorities do. So, as far as the other part goes, I'm all for people expressing their faith openly. I'm all for people praying publicly. The scripture tells us to pray the desires of our heart, and that's obviously what these people were doing. And I think we need to have a lot more, all of us need to be a lot more loving toward one another. I think that's I read a book a long time ago called The Bait of Satan, and that bait was offense. And it seems like everybody is offended these days. And I think that is a bait of Satan. And so I think we have to be careful with that.
Well, I agree. I mean, I just don't get what the hoopla was. I mean, if individuals opt and want to get together to pray or do whatever they want to do, I mean, again, I'm back into being a constitutionalist, and individuals have certain rights, and they have a right to pray and assemble peacefully and do anything that their heart desires in regards to who they want to worship and who they want to praise. But this is the young man, John Jordan Rivas, 20-year-old from Harlingen, Marilyn Lopez, a 19-year-old, Milani Fortis, an 18-year-old. They're all young kids. I think the only one that got a serious offense on there was Jordan. I think he's going to be charged with a felony for attacking. There it is, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. And the other two are just going to get the Class B misdemeanor for disruption of the meeting. But it goes again. When people become intolerant in regards to other people's beliefs, it's not a matter of who's president. I tried to speak to someone today and let them know, guys, ultimately, whoever is president doesn't really literally affect us directly here in Los Fresnos, Texas, or Brownsville, Texas. Not very much is going to change. I think one of the biggest impacts that we could have is in regards to our local elections down here, and to make sure that we're out there seeing the needs one for another. I mean, it just gets to the point where when you've got a party out there that not only promotes the destruction of property, not only promotes violence in regards to a lot of the burnings and rioting and stuff, it's just very, very hard to make excuses for them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, again, we have to understand how deep the deception goes. And I want to make this very clear. I do believe there's a lot of deception going on. And one of the deceptions you've kind of already mentioned, which is this belief that the president of the United States is going to be either our savior or our destroyer. And I think the rhetoric is so deep that people are buying it. And I would, those three people that were throwing eggs and doing all that stuff, I would really like to to be able to understand how deep their sense is and how deep their hurt is. and I know that's not real popular. I should be angry with them because they're throwing them at us and at believers or whatever. But one of the things Jesus came for is he came for the poor in spirit, the broken, and his message is as much for anybody as it is for me. And I want to make that clear. That's the hill I want to die on is the one that declares Jesus as King of Kings, and I don't want to lose that in discussing whether or not one party is worse than the other. I'll be honest with you. You asked me what I was. I'm a neither can. I'm not real happy with either party, to be honest with you. I'm more dissatisfied with the Democrat Party right now for a couple of reasons, but I'm also dissatisfied with the Republican Party for many reasons. So I think that we do need to start sowing the seeds of unity again. And it's not going to happen through politics. I hate to tell everybody that. Joe Biden nor Donald Trump are going to bring this country together. What will bring this country together is us meeting our neighbors again, us loving on the people that are next to us feeding the people who are in our communities. And I think that's a huge thing.
Well, I agree. One of the things that I tell people regularly is, guys, I don't consider myself a Republican or a Democrat. I do my best to vote for the platform. Whoever is going to help us out directly. Who's ever going to be a plus for our community. But you said something. Us meeting our neighbors again. And one of the things that has hindered us meeting our neighbors on a regular basis is the COVID-19. And how have y'all as a church been affected by COVID-19 since it started back in March?
Well, when it first came down in March, we because it was novel, because we didn't know anything about it, we shut down for several weeks. And then it became apparent that we were going to have to figure out how to do life with COVID-19 as a reality in our community. One of the things that was clear to me is our fellowship, our church gatherings are essential, and we can't. That a lot of people literally move from week to week through the fellowship. We have widows in our group. We have people who are constantly alone, and I could get into a lot of the COVID things, but there's a lot of unintended consequences that the shutdown has created. Suicide rates have jumped by almost 25%, which is ridiculous. Depression is through the roof. Young adults are being affected probably the greatest of all in that era. Their mental health has really been struggling. And not to talk about substance abuse and domestic violence. I see all the rhetoric. I know we want to keep ourselves safe from COVID, and I don't want anybody to die from COVID, but I do want us to be honest about the fact that there are several other things that we have to be aware of. There are people in nursing homes who hasn't seen their family in 8 months. They haven't been able to, and I think that we have to be honest about that and realize that there are people who are hurting because of our reaction to COVID more than they ever would have hurt from COVID. And I want us to be aware of that and open to that. So that's where I stand.
I think a lot of it had to do with a lot of individuals, acting more on sentiment than on actual facts. And I think, there was a lot of knee-jerking reaction back when March, when everything happened, and started to act in a way that was kind of crazy. I think that now, hindsight, looking back, I think a lot of the individuals were very, very upset that at a time when our numbers weren't as bad, we were cutting everything down, to the point that a lot of our churches got harassed. A lot of our congregations got harassed in regards to if we were going to be able to hold worship or not. And we never stopped having worship at church here in Brownsville. We maintained social distancing. We made sure that we had hand sanitizer all over the place, and encourage individuals to social distance while sitting in church. One of the benefits of having small churches is that you don't have to worry about jam-packed auditoriums. We're a congregation right now of 45 to 50 members, so social distancing isn't much of an issue anyway. And I could see where a lot of the churches that have 2,000, 1,000, or 500 individuals might have something to worry about, but why want to shut down everyone? and that goes back to Adele, to how the state has wanted to treat everyone with the measure everyone with the same ruler, and you can't do that because a
Right.
lot of different cities in Texas weren't as affected as some other cities in the state of Texas. So to shut everything down in Brownsville, Texas, or Los Fresnos, Texas, didn't make much sense when our numbers were fairly low in comparison to other cities in the state of Texas. So I think one of the things.
Did that come from the state level, or was that a decision made put in the hands of county and city officials?
Well, actually, back in March, it went from this is what the state has mandated, and then this is what the county had mandated, and then
Right.
when they started to ease off the restrictions, then the state started to say, "Well, this doesn't happen," and they wanted to open up a lot of the things. One of them was the schools. Right now there's a big fight in regards to should our schools be open, and I imagine it's the same issue in Los Fresnos, Texas, and again opening our schools, and this is just my take, opening our schools here in Brownsville is a big mistake. Is a huge mistake. 19,698 students have tested positive in the state of Texas. 12,289 teachers and staff have fallen prey to coronavirus since school restarted back in August and September. In Brownsville, we have 72 students who have tested positive and 134 staff members. That's not counting this month's total, which will probably add on another 25 to each one of those demographics. Now, this is taking into consideration that our schools are underreporting the number of positives in them. So I would easily say that that's probably twice as many students and probably twice as many staff members already. And again, we in the city of Brownsville have more positive cases at BISD than Houston ISD. And that is very concerning because we are considered a hotspot. I mean, I don't know if you remember, Adele, I think last month or 6 weeks ago, the governor came down and governor declared Rio Grande Valley and Laredo and Victoria danger zones.
In July, yeah.
Yeah, well, I think it was back last month, wasn't it?
I don't remember.
I think it was last month that we considered a danger. That's one of the reasons why we couldn't open up as heavily as other places in regards to a lot of the businesses, the restaurants. While other places in the state of Texas were opening up at 75%, we were still stuck at 50% in regards to the restaurants. We haven't moved up to that phase because the governor declares this a danger zone. Now, the county judge has given out a new mandate today. Did you have a chance to see that today?
I did. I read it. Yeah, I saw the new mandate.
So
I guess it's just an extension of what already was, isn't it?
I
didn't see any.
And I think the only thing is that now I think they're feeling a little bit emboldened, the county with Joe Biden election. That now they're focusing more on face masks than they did before. To the point where I think now it's going to be a requirement to have be wearing a face mask every single time you're out there in public, which I mean I guess is okay. I just think it's kind of like kind of dumb when you're out there by yourself and you're walking or you're
If you're by yourself, you're not in public, right?
well no, but out in public is out anywhere on the street. While you're out there. You have to wear a face mask. That's what I understood by the mandate. Anyone 10 years or older must wear a face mask. Again, part of a lot of these little rules and a lot of these restrictions, there really isn't a lot of detail to them, and I don't think that we're going to get much of a detail from anyone at the county in regards to what exactly does that mean.
Yeah, I mean, I decided not to get my medical degree, and I'm not a scientist, so I'm not going to play one. I do think, like I said before, that my big concern is that we not be muted to the idea that, you talked about schools reopening. As somebody in a church, I get to see lots of families who come through here and looking for all kinds of assistance. And I don't know about Brownsville, but in Los Fresnos, some kids, the only time they get a meal is when they're at school. I mean, there's domestic abuse has skyrocketed during this time as well. I just think we have to be careful about making blanket statements. You said let's not measure everything with one ruler.
Right.
And I grew up, and I'll tell a little bit of my own story. Growing up, not going back to school would have been a very bad situation for me in the home I grew up in. And we waited and could not wait. Like summers went way too long for us. We wanted to get back in school faster because it wasn't a good situation to be in. And I wasn't abused; it was just verbal. But I think we have to be. I know that there are a lot of people who think they know exactly what should and shouldn't happen in these times, but I deal with a lot of different people from a lot of different backgrounds, kids with learning disabilities who are getting no help at home right now because their parents don't know how to do it. Kids with behavioral issues that have been seeing doctors haven't been seeing those doctors. And I mean, it's just, this is not something we should measure with one ruler. And I'm talking out of my own experiences with families that I've dealt with. But I don't know what the answer is, so don't even get me on this. I just think as we decide what our answers are, we have to be honest about the struggles that go along with these kind of lockdowns and these mandates and these requirements and these curfews. And I just think, well, number one, I don't understand some of them, but I think it's important for us to be aware that some people, though we disagree with them, I quit really looking at Facebook too much because, if somebody says I need to send my kids back to school, the next person says you just want to kill people. Like the rhetoric has got to change. And that's really what I wanted to get on here about is we have to change our rhetoric. There are good, well-meaning people who think we ought to wear a mask in our houses, and there are good, well-meaning people who think that we have to get back to as a normal as possible. And I think if we gave each other that grace, which the scripture tells us to consider another's opinion as more valuable than your own. And if we operated from that, we would become less destructive to each other.
Well, one of the things that you did mention was, you're not a doctor and you're not a scientist. And, I can confirm that.
Yes, you can.
Dale is not. But let me say, Dale, that one of my big pet peeves with our local school districts, also including Los Fresnos, is when they've made a lot of these decisions, they've actually excluded the doctors, the scientists, in regards to the discussions that they have with their task force in regards to opening up or being a little bit more lax in regards to sending more individuals onto campus. And every single doctor that we have had on the show, every single nurse, medical professional has stated the same thing, that we are rushing it. It is not recommended.
Can I respond to me too real quick?
Yeah.
Because I think we need to deal with these social issues, but I also think we have to realize that if we could deal with them as easily as just dealing with them, then we would be dealing with them. It's not an either or game. We have to be honest about that. And I don't think we ought to. I'm not a believer that we ought to have the schools raise our kids. I didn't allow that. I believed it was my responsibility to raise my kids.
Yeah.
So
that's the last thing.
Yeah, I do not want the schools raising my kids. And so I just want to make that clear. No, I want to handle those social issues. And one of the ways we handle that social issue is to help people come to a knowledge of truth in the Word of God. And you brought me on here. I do believe that is the key, is teaching people who God is and what He's calling us to. And I don't want anybody to get the assumption that I'm on here saying that we ought to shove kids back in school or not shove kids in school. I just think we ought to consider all of the variables. And I do think the schools should listen to doctors, but I also think schools should listen to psychologists and psychiatrists, whom I've talked to quite a few of, who are telling you these kids need to be back in school. They're missing, their social anxieties are going way up. They're having lots of problems that I've got a psychologist friend of mine that says he's amazed at how these kids are responding to this. So I just think that's important.
Well, it is, and that's one of the reasons why we've had actually a lot of counselors on here, a lot of psychiatrists, a lot of psychologists, and we have to find that leeway. One of the things, though, that I think that we've all mentioned is, I think all of us want our kids back at school, and I've had the opportunity to speak to a lot of teachers out there. I think every single teacher that I've spoken to, every single one of them, they want to be back on campus. They want to be out there. It's where they excel. It's where they could do the greater good to our student population out there. Their concern is it safe for them to go back? And I think that's where it falls on
What do you safe for who?
For the individuals going back onto campus,
The kids?
the teachers, staff, and kids.
Okay, I mean, 99.9998 is pretty safe. Again, I'm not a scientist, and you got sucked into that. I just think we have to be honest about the fact that these kids, you know, I don't want our kids to be under any risk, but that's not a reality of anything. When you get in a car, your children are at risk. When you put them on a bus, they're at risk. When you live in a house with any kind of electricity, you're at risk. I mean, for us to suggest that we can prevent all risk for our children is futile.
Oh, no,
And
no.
so I just think we have to be honest about that.
I think one of the things that the medical professionals were concerned with was that, and something that you have mentioned, most of our kids are going to be okay. Most of our students, they're going to be okay. They're, not going to succumb. Not all of our students, because
Right.
despite the fact that a lot of the individuals out there, a lot of individuals were saying that, children would not be affected by it. We have a 16-year-old, Jose Luisito Chavez, who's, fighting for his life up in San Antonio. He is one of our 16-year-old Rivera students. And I make mention of him because, we are constantly sharing the GoFundMe page that the family asked that we do share. And, we just learned today that, he is going to need a lung transplant because of succumbing fighting coronavirus. And again, the number of students that have fallen ill is a little bit concerning. I think the biggest concern, Dale, here is that, because most of the people down here are Hispanic, overweight, diabetes, and a lot of other underlying factors that are detrimental to anyone that gets coronavirus. And I think that's what a lot of the concerns have been in regards to individuals that have shared, that they're afraid that because the students are going to be okay, they're still going to be carriers, and they run the risk of being carriers because there's absolutely no way to control children from wearing masks and from not social distancing. So I think that's where the
No,
big
I totally agree with that, and I totally agree with the assessment of our culture. I do. I do see that, like I said, even in the comments we're seeing here, we're seeing this, we're deciding what parents' motivation are for wanting their kids to go back to school. We're deciding what the motivation is for not wanting them to go back to school. We're deciding, and I really think we have to have a lot more grace for one another. And, that's one of the things that really struggles me. I'm almost completely off of social media because I can't believe we would never talk to each other like this face to face. We hide behind the social media and we demean one another, and I don't think that's smart. I think we ought to realize that the people on the other side of those decisions are making difficult decisions. And one of the things I just wanted to promote as we were talking about this is, I really think that if you're out in public and you see that people are wearing a mask, even if you're on a walking trail, if it makes them feel more comfortable, avoid them or put the mask on. I don't think we ought to make this big deal about all of this. We ought to find ways to encourage one another. And I'm telling you, that's not what's happening. I'm amazed at the rhetoric on Facebook and Twitter, and well, I'm not even on Twitter anymore, but I'm amazed at the rhetoric. I'm amazed at how quickly we decide what other people's motivation is, and I don't think that's healthy.
I agree. I think one of the things is that we have to find ways for individuals that have to be going back onto campus now. Now it's not much of a choice anymore. Our all our staff, is going back onto campus on Monday. It's not a matter of choice anymore. It's going to happen.
Oh, is that right? In Brownsville?
In Brownsville.
Y'all are all going back on campus on the Monday?
Yes. Starting November the 16th, all our staff is going back onto campus on Monday. Everyone.
But not your students.
Not the students. Only the students that don't have access to Wi-Fi will be coming back on. Or should be already be back at schools on November the 30th. Anyone wanting to come back onto school will be coming back onto campus. So after
Gotcha.
November 30th, any student that is wanting to come back on campus has that option, or they have the option of staying home, distance learning. I actually sent. So you're saying that if only one child is then okay to return to school? No one wants point. Yeah, I think that's I think Tony's referring to the Betsy DeVos statement that only 15,000 students are going to die anyway. So it's kind of not a very nice thing to say by Betsy DeVos, but it was kind of.
I didn't hear her say that, and that's certainly not what I was saying.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree that we don't want 0.02. I don't want that 0.02 to be my child. I don't want it to be your child. I don't want it to be any child. However, I do think we have to be honest about the fact that there are kids who are suffering right now that are bigger than 0.02 in their living situation. And that's the thing that I'm trying to say is I don't know the answer. I'm not pretending to know the answer. Go back to school, don't go back to school. I don't know. I just think all I'm asking for is us to give some grace to the people who disagree with us in this particular moment, because a lot of the disagreement isn't out of a place of lack of care. I think most people are aware of all of these things, and we get singularly focused. And the truth of the matter is this virus is going to be around for a while, and I don't know that we know now or will know the long-term effects of the shutdowns of any of this. And I think we'll look back. And hold on, I wanted to read this. I don't. Yeah. I'm not even about the board. That's not my conversation. I'm specifically talking to us, and I see we're not deciding. I assume this is a teacher, uh, helping parents troubleshoot device issues. I'm not saying they're not realistic. Please don't hear me wrong. I am not bashing you for whichever side of the fence you're on. I'm begging us to be more gracious to people who disagree with us in the moment. That's all I'm asking. If you're somebody who still does not think you ought to send your kids back to school, I understand that. I also understand decisions are being made that are out of your hands. That please do not. I'm not making some stance. I'm just saying let's consider all the factors and realize there's a lot of reasons that we may differ in opinion about how to appropriately respond to this pandemic. This is something brand new to us, and we do not know the full effects of all of this. So I hope you don't hear that I'm telling you how you're supposed to proceed. I'm not saying that. I'm asking you how to proceed and how you talk to each other.
I think the biggest concern right now is that that a lot of the individuals who have not had the experience, the direct contact with COVID-19 individuals, are ultimately the ones that are making these decisions based on faulty information. Again, one of the things that our district has failed here and in Los Fresnos is they constantly try to cover up a lot of the numbers. The numbers are messed up. The numbers are not real, and that's what becomes very, very, very concerning. We've had a board member here in Brownsville who right now is in rehab, and there has been no statement. We have had, high level administrators who have not only tested positive, but had gone out there and infected other principals, and there's still no word about it. I think part of the issue with a lot of the folks down here is that why is everything so hush hush? We need to have numbers. Need to have accurate information, because a lot of the times when we don't have accurate information, then a lot of the decisions that are made, are made on the cuff and not necessarily in tune with what's actually going on the campus level. And I'll give you an example. Just today, an Ortiz Elementary staff member has tested positive. A Brent Bright student has tested positive. 8 special ed teachers have tested positive at Porter. 4 students have tested positive at Porter. The JV Porter football team has tested positive. Pace football team has tested positive. And it's just
The whole team?
Was individuals on the team. So individuals on the team. And this is, no, you're not correct. I have 2 special teens. I refuse to send them to school. They do not care about hygiene. Therefore, we are scared for their being. They themselves are scared and do not want to go back. I will withdraw them from school if they are forced to go back face-to-face schooling. And that is going to be, unfortunately, the option for a lot of individuals. There is no plan. No.
I have believed for a long time that we as parents should take back the right to raise our children as we see fit. Please, I'm not advocating for any of this. I think homeschooling is way underdone, and I'm a big believer. So yeah, I'm not arguing with you there. I'm not. I think we as parents have to make the best decision for our children. That's something I am firmly believing. I just don't want us to judge one another based on how we decide to proceed with our children. That was my only point. And I hope I'm making that point. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. I'm not somebody who is an expert in any of these fields. What I'm an expert in, and what I'm fighting for, is that we start becoming more united. You cannot be united if we all have to agree on the same things. Like, that unity does not come without some unity and diversity. And that's where I really want to focus my attention is, I'm frustrated with the government on every level. And yet we're fighting each other as if the government really is that important to our day-to-day lives. And I think we ought to come together as a community, as a people. And sometimes that means I have to realize you and I are going to do things a little differently. And that's the whole point I'm making throughout all of this. I am not a coronavirus expert. I don't pretend to be, except when I'm talking to myself. So that's what I wanted to bring out.
The board has diabetes and liabilities. They got a lot of liabilities. And yeah, and again, it goes back, and it goes back. If we had actual numbers, if we had actual numbers, and we had a little bit more information in regards to what really was going on in our community, at our school districts, Los Fresnos and Brownsville, then I think we would be better in tune in regards to making these choices that we have to make in regards to, do I really want to send my child back onto a campus where you have an administrator that is not telling me the truth, where you have a school board that is hiding their own member who is fighting coronavirus? And I would dare say that 90% of the individuals out there, would say, no way, Jose.
Yeah, and but again, I think you're missing. Well, maybe you're not missing my point. You're just making yours. But as a constitutionalist, there are some freedoms that we are pulling away from people, and I think we need to be careful. And I hear people say, and I see both points of view, and I hope the point of view you're only hearing from me is, I think we we keep griping about the board of the school district. Well, then vote, right? I think we gripe about our city officials, then vote. We gripe about our county officials, vote. All the way up, we can vote. But what'll really change things is grassroots movements where we as individuals are loving on each other, protecting one another, basically following biblical principles for how we're supposed to live life, instead of relying on the government to make decisions for us. So you're not going to hear me ever suggest that I want the government to take more stuff from me or more rights from me. I'm not going to say it. But having said that, I do think that we as parents have to start focusing on what is right for our family, get as much information as you can. I hear your thing about numbers. I mean, numbers have been wrong from the beginning. We had a numbers dump in, I think, middle of August that did not accurately reflect anything. I mean, we're talking 700 and whatever cases in one day. That wasn't accurate. That was a numbers dump. And so, we're all operating on what we best know. But having said that, I think you take in as much information as you can and make the best decision you can. And I'm going to be honest with you, we're not always going to make the right decisions individually. Our government's not always going to make the right decisions collectively. But we need to have a lot of grace for one another.
Oh, I agree. And again, one of the things that I think that is very, very concerning out there, going back into being constitutionalist, we just want the truth, and we believe in the truth, and we need for individuals to make informed decisions based on the truth, not on lies. Again, if Betsy, just the statement that was made in regards to Betsy DeVos that only 2% of the individuals were going to succumb to it. Well, I mean, if that was the case, then I still wouldn't send my kids to school.
And see, I would.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
I
I,
mean,
I wouldn't want my kid to be that 2%.
well, me neither. But I also don't want to raise my children afraid. And there's a balance in it that when I look at the statistic, and I'm just saying for me personally, I'm not telling you to send your kids back to school. Erasmo said I would not send my kids to school. I would send mine. And the reason I would send mine is because I do believe personally that there might be more harm than good being done keeping them isolated. That's the only reason. Now, if my kids were doing fine and they were thriving at home and flourishing, and they did, I didn't think they needed that social interaction, I wouldn't do it. But so when I say I would send mine if they were struggling in other ways as well. Because I'm going to tell you, I also don't want my kid to be one of the 25% increase in suicide either. So, there's more here at stake, and that's what I don't think. I deal with youth all the time, and it's important to realize how difficult it is. And yeah, I mean, I agree with her. The cold season's coming up, and flu season's coming up, and there's a lot of stuff that we have to wade through. And I hate that we live in this time, but I'm a man of faith, and I'm a man that's confident that I don't have to fear everything, and I should be cautious. I should be careful. I should make good decisions, but I'm not going to live my life in fear. And I would recommend nobody live their life in fear. Make good decisions, and then trust. That's my mantra.
Well, I think the problem is that we don't trust our school boards. We don't trust our administrators, and we don't trust them because they've lied to us.
Well,
And
that's our fault.
and you're right. It is. You're 100%
We
right.
keep electing them.
Yeah.
If we don't trust them, get rid of them. I mean,
Get rid of them. You're exactly right, and that's exactly what I've told people, guys. If you want the change, affect the change. And one of the things that I think that has been lost is that a lot of individuals, they've forgotten, what here in the United States, what government really is. Government is the people, and when you're being lied to, they are mistreating you, they are not listening to you. Then you have the constitutional right to get rid of them. The problem is that we don't get rid of them. We reelect them, and we have to wait for the FBI to come and to pick them up for being so corrupt. But that's a story for another day. Correct? You cannot raise your children in culture. And I agree with you in regards to I've told I tell my family at church family every Sunday don't live in fear. We are commanded not to live in fear. And that V makes you look like you have big ears. the, V,
I
the
can't
V,
see that comment. So
no, the V makes you look like you have two big bunny ears.
Yeah, that's
But,
part of my love.
yeah. But one of the things that we teach at church is it is commandment: do not fear, do not fear, don't live in fear. Be cautious. You're going to protect yourself as much as possible. That's one of the reasons why I tell people I have hand sanitizer all around me. I wear a face covering every single time that I'm out there going into Walmart, HB, or any other place. I do my best to social distance, stay away from everyone that I can. I am cautious. I refuse to live in fear. And I agree with you, Dale. I think we shouldn't live in fear, but we should be cautious. We should be careful. We need to be clear on one thing, that we are getting all the information going back to health department. We don't know if the students, teachers, and staff that are testing positive are actually getting infected in campus, or is it if they are staying at home. We need to be true and take responsibility. Restaurants, gym, yes, 100%. Again, and I agree that look, I'm not saying that the the 16-year-old who is from Rivera actually got it at Rivera. I don't know, but it doesn't much matter right now. He's still a 16-year-old that needs help, and that's one of the reasons why we've shared the the GoFundMe page, and we reach out to the family and we've prayed for them. But again, guys, the less contact that we have at this point in time is going to keep us a little bit safer, I would say. One thing we need to maybe one thing we need to consider is today's generation is still isolated because of technology. Many students, yes, it's kind of funny, but you know what? I think I made fun of this during the summer, Dale. Was that it's like a dream come true for a lot of the kids because you'd see them all stuck on their iPads or on their phones anyway. But they could spend hours upon hours playing Fortnite. I can't remember those games, but I hate sitting at a computer for 4 hours to do my homework, and I'm going like, shut up. you spend more. I have a nephew, Jerry. Sorry, Jerry. Jerry spends like all night and all the way till the wee hours in the morning playing Fortnite with people like in China, and I know he didn't bring the virus, and from other parts of the world, but he can't sit 4 hours, 6 hours in front of the computer to do his homework. No, bitch it out.
I'm with him. I can sit for hours doing something I want to do, and sitting in front of a computer for 4 hours doing something I don't want to do is still, I'm with him. But one of the things I think is a misnomer is that our children are antisocial, or they're not as social as they once were, and there's a lot of reasons for that. Number one, we're raising our children in fear. We don't like our kids to go out and play. When I was a kid, I ran and played in the yard, and then I came home when the lights went up. That was when we went home, and but I raised 3 kids. All 3 of my kids are grown. They all, well, not all of them, but they, for the most part, played video games and everything, but they still had social interaction. And, again, I'm not even suggesting that has to be the end all be all. I'm just saying it has to be a factor in our decision. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. And I think one of the comments that I think Maria Magdalena was making mention is that, even if they do come back onto campus, you're absolutely, and I think somebody else made the comment. There will be no social interaction when the kids go back on November the 30th, and that is true. I mean, they are talking about these plexiglass, this separation, this going. It's not going to. It's going. It's guys. It's not going to be the same. There's no way that it's going to be the same as it was January, February of 2020. I forget how long we've been in coronavirus. 2020. I mean, it's just not going to be the same. It's been one of those crazy years. And that's what every kid that goes physically to school should get tested once a week. That's how we can keep the virus in control. It's not going to happen. It's just it's not going to happen. They aren't going to be testing everyone. It's just would get too expensive when you have 40,000 students in Brownsville, and I think maybe 8,000 in Los Fresnos. It's not going to happen. Have y'all have you come close to how close has the coronavirus hit home for you, Dale?
I've lost a couple of friends, people I've known for a few years. I've had a couple of members of my church lose moms and dads. My wife's grandmother has had it. I've had other family members that have had it. I mean, it's a real thing. I don't want anybody to believe that I don't think it's real. I do think it's real. And sorry. Yeah, that was a misunderstanding. I was not talking about COVID when I said we played. I said we tend to socially isolate our kids before COVID by not letting them play outside as much as they do now because we're afraid. So I want to make sure that, my whole message here is, and the reason that I agreed to come on was not to fight about whether or not we should send our kids back to school or not. If you don't send your kids back to school, I completely understand why you don't do it. If you do send your kids back to school, I completely understand why you do it. I do think that that there are things that we can't possibly consider, and most of the people who get on Facebook and who think about the things on Facebook are not the people who live in extremely impoverished homes where there is abuse, where there is starvation, where there is. I mean, that's all I'm saying is we have a social problem in our community that happens when there isn't COVID. And it still exists today. And I know that the school classroom shouldn't be that haven for them, but for the most part, it is. And so I just want us to be aware of that when we talk about this, so that we're not constantly attacking one another for decisions that we don't understand that other people make. I respect and understand why most of you will make the decision you're going to make, and I'm not going to judge you for it. And I completely understand why you would make that decision. So I just want us to be, no, I just want us to be honest about the fact that we are allowing something that is outside of our control to dictate our lives in such a way. And I don't mean those shutdowns. I mean dictate our such lives in such a way in which we're tearing one another apart verbally or with pen and paper or social media. And that's the message I wanted to leave here is take some time to learn why somebody's motivated, how they're motivated, and not assume that their reason is because they're more heartless than you, or they're more evil than you, or they're more whatever than you. Like, take some time to get to know somebody. Maybe you can help them. Maybe they're struggling so much at home because they have their own medical issues that they can't deal with. I have no idea. I just think it's a time for us to come together and not divide over our opinion about what should happen. And so that's my main message here
One
is
of,
we have clear instruction.
one of the things that I think that we've done well in the city of Brownsville, and I'm sure that it happens in Los Fresnos. We do have lists of students that are at-risk students, and I think one of the things that we need to focus on as a school district, as a city, and both in Los Fresnos and Brownsville, is making sure that these at-risk students, which are individuals that come from broken homes, individuals that don't have all the essentials, that may live in extreme poverty, is make sure that these individuals have been well taken care of. And I think that's one of the things that we need to continue to encourage our elected officials, not only at the school board level but also at the city level, at the county level, is to make sure that we as a community are attending the needs of those individuals. I know for a fact that we live in a very loving community, and for the most part, every single time that we've expressed a certain need in regards to anyone having such, a community has responded by pitching in, helping out in one way or another. And I think that just speaks volumes about our community. So one of the things that I think that we need to do is, it's what Dale says, continue to encourage our individuals who sit on these seats, on these elected positions, and to have them make sure that the individuals who may be at risk throughout our community, are well taken care of. It's very, very important. Again, I agree with Dale. We cannot live in fear. We shouldn't live in fear. We should be cautious, and we should be given allowed the right to make choices for our health, our well-being, our livelihood. It's part of the uh, part of the preamble of the Constitution. We need to have those liberties secured to us. As Erasmo was mentioned before, there are teachers that are okay with COVID back to school, just like there are parents who are okay to send their kids back to school. The district should provide an incentive pay to allow teachers who want to be at school, and there will be allow those who want to. Yes, again, yeah, man. If anyone wants to go back on the campus, go for it. If anyone wants to keep their kids, at home, let them stay at home. Let them stay at home, and everyone attend to the needs in regards to what they think is best for their kids, their students, and everything other. Again, Valley Central News, local Cameron County extends order requiring limitation of gatherings. Yes. The other things that were limited, just to follow up on the Cameron County ones, we already know that there are no limitations for schools. Schools are going to continue to function whichever way they deem necessary. And they're talking back about the county judge's order. Uh, Gatherings, there will be no more than 10 folk, 10 folk for gathering, for social gatherings. This does not include church. Church, again, people have the right to go worship. So people go worship. Bars are at 50%, and all bars must close at 11 p.m. And If anyone breaks a lot of these, the curfew for 17 years or younger is 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Any adult, the curfew is from 12 a.m. to 5 a.m. And this goes on until December sometime. Anyone who does not abide by these orders will be considered an imminent threat to public health. What that means, who knows? I don't know. Do you understand what imminent threat to public health means, Dale?
Makes you a criminal.
Well, some of us are already considered that, so I guess we'll be okay. Imagine the health damage of my children are infected. Every young having problems. They may not live to talk about it. Precautions. My children are safe at home. I keep them busy. Amen. Good job. It's going to be scary after Thanksgiving because just 2 in the class. They still need to be told to wear masks correctly. Now imagine a class of 30. Crazy. 90% of the people in Cameron County are only greedy for money and destroying others, and they are not compassionate to help others. I think that's
So let's be a part of the change of that. Let's not be guilty of that.
yes. BISD and other districts should just accept that this year is lost cause as far as face to face. Continue distance learning, perfect craft, prevent spread, and hopefully start fresh next year. Let's pray. I agree with some of what you are saying. I think you are missing the point that the teachers are frustrated with the superintendent and the previous board members not being flexible as to employees' needs to wants to work from home or campus. Additionally, lack of communication from Glass Palace and transparency. Yes.
Well, but it,
No communication.
so there's a lot of people who have that same problem, who are have had to go to work since March 1. Since March the shutdown, the quote unquote essential workers who've been doing that. So I'm not missing that. I understand the frustration there, but I do think that. I would like to see the schools be more flexible with teachers. I'd like to see all employers be more flexible with their employees that are under this scrutiny. And I'd love to see everybody who has to work during this time get a massive bonus. Like, I think that'd be fantastic because they have worked in a dangerous situation. So just to be clear, I don't think I'm missing that point. I think that I think I recognize that point, and I certainly feel for you. I really do.
Our community needs to seek a higher power. Yes, always needs to seek God to protect the children of Brownsville as well as the citizens of Brownsville because what we've been relying on hasn't worked.
Amen, sister.
Just an opinion. It is. Dale, any last words?
Yeah, again, my main goal in even coming on here was not to fix anybody's thoughts on COVID or change how they think or on COVID. The only thing I wanted to change or encourage is that we recognize that we're not each other's enemies and that we should be lifting one another up in prayer. We should be lifting one another up in thought. We should be encouraging one another and try desperately not to assume motivation when people make decisions that are different than yours. We are called to love one another. The first one is love your neighbor as yourself. And then Jesus said, love even as I have loved you, and gave himself for you. So I just think it's really important in this time, all of it, federal, local, doesn't matter. That is something that is so vitally important that we come together as a citizenry and stop relying on people above us to run our lives. And somebody asked me, what is my congregation doing to help people with mental health? And I'll answer that question. I have helped lots of people through this time with the counseling that I can provide. I've been helping couples through marriage counseling. And then I also have sent people to professional help when necessary. So I'm very aware of the mental health strain this has caused on so many people. So I just want to make sure that that's out there.
Yes, and I've known Dale for good whiles now. He's one of the good ones, and I don't say that about a lot of people out there.
Well, thank you, Erasmo. I hope that I expressed myself well. I did not. I just don't want anybody to think that I'm sitting here saying, send your kids back to school or you must. That's not my job. I don't play in that arena. My arena is, let's be very careful about how we interact with one another. So that's my focus.
You did a great job, Dale.
Thanks, Erasmo. Have a good one, brother.
I love you. Hey, guys, remember Coffee and the Word Monday through Friday between 7 and 8 o'clock. Check them out. Dale House, Church of
Los
Christ,
Fresnos Church Christ
Los Fresnos,
Facebook page.
yeah, Los Fresnos Church of Christ Facebook page. Guys, a great group of folk out there, Los Fresnos Church of Christ. I know I've been there. I haven't been there recently, but I might go visit sometime in the near future. Guys,
Come
please.
see us at Erasmo.
We'll see you in a little bit, I promise. Guys, please remember that we are still on these guidelines from the county. Please maintain social distance. Again, hand sanitizer. Protect yourself. Protect your families. Do what is in the best interest of you and yours. You know how to best protect your family. Please do so for the sake of our community, for the sake of our families out there. Please, please, please adhere to the guidelines as close as possible. And please, guys, it's the hand sanitizer all over the place. Guys, please continue to be good to each other. And please, please, please continue to be good to me. God bless.